On the basics to any project on prepared teeth, we've already seen how to design a posterior crown from beginning to end. Now I want to show you how to do that on an anterior tooth. Using the mirror tool instead of loading a custom model tooth from any library. I selected tooth 11 as an anatomic crown, the material as lithium disilicate to be milled on a 4-axis milling machine. We're going to start right after the crown bottom step. Instead of loading a custom model tooth, let's go to expert mode. Now right-click on top of your restoration to open the context menu and select Copy Tooth. On the window that just popped, select the mirror and then click on the tooth you want to copy in the scan data. In this case, tooth 21. This will automatically select the shape of the tooth and make a new tooth model mirrored. In case the software wasn't able to select properly, go to Margin tab and define the margin with points. You have to click Apply to apply the changes. You can also try the Correct tab and optimize the detection manually by painting the tooth boundaries with the brush. In this case, the impression and the scan were great, so it makes it easier for the software to detect the boundaries on its own. If you need to do the calculation again, click on Reject and redo the action. Now bring the pointer with the tooth model to the prep of your restoration and click on it. Then choose Yes to replace previous tooth model. A new area will appear on the window asking you to correct the placement. Just be aware that if you do the placement and for some reason you click Ctrl+Z on your keyboard, the mirror tooth will disappear. Since I'm very used to this command, I always prefer to go to Advanced Placement instead. Now it's the usual drag and rotate until you get your tooth to the right position. Here you can see that the Advanced and Chain tabs are disabled. That's because they only work with model teeth from the library, not mirror teeth from the jaw scan. Remember to keep your show distances on so you know that your occlusion will be right. Also use the Add Custom View on the lower right corner of your screen to save some important views for the correct placement. I always add a view from the occlusal side and buccal side. Rotate the jaw scan until seen from the occlusal side and add Custom View. Then right-click on the Custom View 1 that just appeared and rename it so you know which one it is. I'll name this one Occlusal, then Enter on the keyboard to apply. Now I click again with the right mouse button and select Show this view opposite side. Then I rotate it until I can see the buccal volume from the anterior teeth. If you want the model to rotate it on a straight axis, hold the pointer between the frontal teeth and drag it down. Now add another custom view and rename it. Use the grid on the background to add the frontal custom view. Use the boulder horizontal line to align the posterior teeth and the boulder vertical line to align both frontal teeth as the midline of the face. Now we're ready to start the tooth placement. Place the incisal as the same size as the adjacent, then look at the occlusal view. Try to align the incisal border. Switch back and forth the views until you get the right alignment. In this case, even if I place it right, there's more space between the lateral and central than the tooth 21. So we need to increase the mesial-distal length. Hold Ctrl and Shift, then drag the tooth on a diagonal lingual to distal axis. Look from inside out of the jaw scan mesh and see the contacts. Make the jaw scan transparent so you can see if the contact area is ideal or not. Bring out the antagonist mesh and see if the occlusal is compromised. Remember that this is a placement step only and we still have the free form and adapt to finish the case. If you have the True Smile module, click with the right mouse button and select Plaster. This will make your tooth model the same color as the jaw scan and help you see the symmetry. You can also bring the background grid to the front and use the squares to help you equalize both teeth. Hold Ctrl plus Shift and hit R button on your keyboard. Every time you click R, it will switch to a different grid mode. I'm pretty confident with the tooth placement step. Now let's move on to the freeforming. Go back to Wizard and click Next to adapt the tooth to the margin. Start by smoothing the area near the margin where it usually deforms the surface a little bit. Leave the brush size as small and the strength as medium. Slide back and forth so you don't remove too much. Switch to Add and then smooth some of the parts until you get it even. Watch out for the contact points. Instead of using the show distances to adapt the approximal with the adjacent teeth, I always prefer to keep that disabled and do it by hand, because sometimes the color information on the surface gets too overwhelming, especially if you're designing multiple units. I recommend using show distances only for occlusal adaptation purposes. If you have a black space between the centrals, always add more volume by the lingual area. With the antagonist hidden, push the model to the top of the screen and only show the incisal area of your teeth. This will help you focus your attention to symmetry. When you're satisfied with the design, go to Adapt. Cut the occlusal with the default value and switch to the approximal. Select this cutter with 0 mm thickness and cut mesial and distal to make sure you don't have any extra volume on the cervical area that would prevent the crown from seating. Hold Ctrl to rotate the discs. Press S to hide the jaw scans and check if the disc is cutting too much of the tooth. Look from inside out and check if your disc cutter removed contact between the teeth. If so, go to Tooth Parts and put them in minimal contact again. Do the same on the other side. At last, go to Adapt again, put the value as 0.02 mm and cut again. Note that the software can't understand what is teeth and what is gingiva. That's why deformities like this can happen. Just go back there with Add and Remove tools and make it even again. Be careful not to smooth the contact points. If you don't want this to happen, just keep the last approximal cut intersections and do the contact adaptation manually by moving tooth parts or smoothing the surface. To mimic a central tooth used to be one of the hardest challenges in dentistry. But now, with tools like this provided by Exocad, this can be done in a couple of minutes. To finish this case, just click Next to merge and save restorations.